every bit as much as Hadrian's Wall, or the Northumberland coast. The bold sandstone escarpments and crags that curve across this ancient kingdom are a facet of a priceless gem. The stunning natural landscape of England's northernmost county. Many will have their favourite hill and crag, but it's the Simonside escarpment that perhaps epitomises, as well as any, these sandstone fells. It dominates the Northumberland skyline, from both north and south. Our walk starts just south of Rothbury, at the car park at Lordenshaw, and quickly climbs a newly pitched stone path that heads south and west along the ridge. This is a popular and well-known route, but perhaps we can unlock a few secrets about this landscape that will be new to you. When you begin to breathe harder than you'd like on the climb, stop to admire the 13th century deer park wall, and don't forget the talents of the men who laid the modern path and made our climb easier. Here, and along the whole ridge trail, that path is often sandstone slabs and blocks, brought in from local quarries, but also from demolished wool mills in Yorkshire and Lancashire. Look closely, you might also notice convoluted squiggles, expressive patterns in the slabs, the fossils of 300-million-year-old worm burrows, plant roots, ripples, and ancient sandbanks. It's not long until we reach the plateau. We've been surrounded by heather and thin acid soils since we started the climb. A clue, if we needed one, that the bedrock is sandstone and it's not far from the surface. The views are expansive. To the north, across the Coquet Valley and beyond to Hedgehope and the Cheviot, and to the east, to the coast, and the south, to Hadrian's Wall country. As tempting as it is to think of these heather moors as wild landscapes, they are not. They are every bit as man-managed as the spruce forests of Harwood below. The prime business here is shooting, and the target, grouse. You'll have heard their call as they're flushed from the heather. While we are on the subject, we can explode another myth. It wasn't modern, or even medieval, or Roman man that was responsible for the origin of this moorland landscape, or even those green pastures in the valley below. The credit for that goes back to our stone, bronze and Iron Age ancestors, who cleared most of the original mixed woodland, and then reared the grazing animals that ensured the saplings never matured. This mosaic of wet and dry moorland is now mainly covered in common heather, but there's bilberry and cross-leaved heath too, and in the bogs are cotton grass and mosses, and even insect-eating plants. Waders like curlews and golden plover breed on these moors, as do the kestrels and ravens, and the ubiquitous grouse. At the top of Beacon Hill, there's a large pile of stones, where it's said that a fire was lit to warn of a Scots invasion in Tudor times. From the scorched stones here, it looks as if some people still think an invasion is imminent. We head west through the heather, to the next cairn, Dove Crag. These prominent summit cairns are large, and unlike the Bronze Age burial cairns lower down the slopes, no human remains or artifacts are recorded within them. They may even be older than Bronze Age, and could be territorial markers. At Dove Crag, we start to see the outcrops of the sculpted sandstone for which this escarpment is well known. Here, and at the crags of Old Stell and Simonside further west, the geological bones of this landscape stick out. Time for a little sedimentology and petrology, I'm afraid. Or in English, how do these rocks form? What are they made of? And why are they shaped the way they are? 330 million years ago, they were once sands in an enormous river, meandering across a broad floodplain from the uplands in the distant north. If you can conjure up an image of the braided channels of the modern river Brahmaputra in Bangladesh, you won't be far off. Geologists call these rocks the fell sandstone, and they were once mostly medium and coarse-grained sands, with occasional layers of little pebbles. Here the fell sandstone is about 350 metres thick. It slopes, or dips as geologists would say, south and east, and extends under the North Sea and deep, over 1,500 metres, under Newcastle and beyond. The sand grains are quartzitic, made of silica. Why the strange sloping layers and laminations? These show that they were once underwater dunes, in channels, in a fast-flowing river. And how come they are now such elaborately sculpted and ribbed towers and turrets, separated by deep cracks and crevices? Credit the elements, water and wind, punctuated 20,000 years ago by an ice sheet, which crudely planed the landscape of all Northumberland. Less well-cemented layers of silica grains erode more easily, as do the vertical joints. They were caused by stresses in the Earth's crust. These evocative, naturally carved rocks make it easy to imagine bogles, brown men and will-o'-the-wisps. Just think, without geology, there'd be no Durgas. But these sandstones aren't just pretty and the stuff of legends. They matter to our daily lives. They are a prolific aquifer for Northumberland, a huge natural underground water reservoir, sensitive to land use and pollution. They form a major offshore oil and gas resource, and with recorded temperatures of 70 degrees C, 1700 metres down a bore in Newcastle, they might in future become a resource of deep geothermal energy. We descend the ridge after the Simonside cairn and head back west to the car park. You might wonder about the origin of the name Simonside. Broad mountain shieling, or the Simon who was King Arthur's brewer, or Seaman's site. Settlement of Sigmund gets the academic consensus. Before you take your boots off, take the short walk north up the little outlying felt sandstone hill at Lordenshaw, and take a look at the extensive Neolithic rock art, Bronze Age burial kists and Iron Age enclosures. This is a world-class prehistoric site, and with the medieval Deer Park wall and other archaeological features to see too, it's worthy of a walk in itself. Lordenshaw is also a good place to gaze back at the Simonside escarpment we have just walked. Nature has a way of putting mankind's achievements into perspective. I'm sure that our ancestors, who scratched their cryptic symbols into these rocks and built those cairns, understood the power and influence of these rocks in our material and spiritual lives, more than most of us do today.